Welcome to the Sports Card Lessons Podcast. I'm your host, Big Ken. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a streaming service, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. You'll be notified whenever I drop any new content. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Happy Sunday. This episode, you get a little bit of a different version of me. I usually don't record on Sunday nights. I like to get this done in the afternoon when I'm full of energy, ready to go. But I'm recording this episode after my Chiefs have won, and now they are 7-0. Hence, Arrowhead Stadium here behind me if you're watching on YouTube. This probably would have been a Monday episode, except I'm so busy tomorrow, so we're pushing through it tonight. So definitely like a little bit of a different version of me tonight. Finished watching all the afternoon games. They were so exciting, right? Including the Jaden Daniels Hail Mary for the win. I always say certain people come into a league, in any professional league, right? And they immediately, they have that it factor just by watching them. I don't care what sport it is, but when they show up, they're there. And I have a feeling he's one of these guys. Just good things are always happening around him. And even though most of the people that come in, they always seem as talented as all the people around them. They're just the things they do. They just seem to stand out more than everybody else. And the only thing I worry about him is, he just seems very thin, very light, and I think he's going to. All those hits that he takes, I think they affect him a little more than most people that are, a guy like a Josh Allen that's a little bit bigger. But time will tell. He's certainly fun to watch. So it's later on Sunday here. It's that lull between the afternoon games and the night game, and you would think I'd have more time to think of the episode, but it just seems like as soon as I get mesmerized in front of this TV with football, especially red zone, it's actually less, and I'm paying more attention to the football than I am anything else. Funny story before we get started. A couple weeks ago, it was a Monday morning. I was sitting, having breakfast, scrolling through, looking at, scores and things from, actually stats on Yahoo, from some of my fantasy leagues. And I went to take a screenshot on the phone, and somehow I hit another button on there. And somehow I accidentally hit something on the bottom screen that automatically entered me into a hockey fantasy draft. And of course the screen pops up and says, "Oh, welcome." And I'm like, no. And I'm like quickly trying to figure out how to get out of it. I couldn't figure it out at the time. I'm like, I'll figure this out later. I'll go back and take care of this. And then it was probably 10 minutes later, I was heading out the door and my phone pops up and says, you're welcome to the Yahoo Fantasy. Your draft is beginning and you'll be on the clock shortly. And I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? So I'm not going to bother, but I just ignored it, And then a couple of days later, it comes up, you need to set your lineup. So I got in there, I pulled this thing up and I added some people, I dropped some people, I set a for the week. At this point, I think I'm the only one in there out of 10. I think they do that a lot. If somebody wants to go in, they just put bots against you in there. I give it another week or two to see if anybody's in there. But I normally wouldn't care and would ignore it, but I hate to put anything negative on my fantasy rankings on there. And I remember last year, similar, I got into a basketball thing and I realized I was the only one in there. And I'm like, I'm not going to do this. And then I could see the negative counting, and for whatever reason it worked. I was like, okay, I'll go back, and I ran this thing the whole year, and I won the league. I came in first place, and I assumed that this is going to happen now with the hockey as well. That I'm stuck here, and you can't get out. Once you get in, you can't get out. So I'll keep you updated on that. So Saturday was a hobbyless day. I spent the day with family Saturday. But today, Sunday, up bright and early, headed down to Danbury, set up at the Bill and Billy's Danbury show. Second time I've done this show. The first time the show was a little disappointing, but it was because it was up against so many other local shows. I think there were 3 or 4 other local shows all going on the same day, and it wasn't just this show that was affected. It was all the shows that were affected from this. Um, but today's show, I was pleasantly surprised. Had great foot traffic. Made some sales, right? Made some deals, bought some cards, and just got to hang out with a lot of great people. And I have to say, not only did I witness, but I was part of the eBay race to zero effect in the room today. And if you know what I mean, if something goes on eBay and goes up for 100, and then somebody's got one and they say 95, and then the next guy's got one 90 and 85 and 80 and 70, and everybody's trying to just be a few dollars under everybody else. And before you know it, the thing's less than half price and on its way to zero. And similar today, I had 5 of the Don Russ football Costco exclusives. I brought to the show to sell. And I know there was a couple other people in the room, had the same boxes, and spoke to the other guy. We agreed, hey, we'll just sell them at the same price. Wherever they buy, but at least we're not, affecting each other. Other people came in, they had the same boxes. We should have talked to them too, or sent them the memo. But as people came to the show and they came up to the table and they said, hey, how much for the boxes? And we agreed a price on $80, right? So I tell people, hey, $80. Okay. And they walk, and then I'd see them a few minutes later with 1 or 2 under their arm walking around. And I'm like, well, that's weird that they bought from somebody else and not me. I mean, the price is the price, and they're all the same thing, right? And I noticed there was one guy on one side of the room that had a good amount of them, and he was really going through his inventory. And then I, figured he's the guy selling all the boxes. So I walked over to him. I said, hey, how much you selling the boxes for? He said 65. And I'm like, didn't they cost you like 61 or 62? He's like, yeah, well, 65 is fine. He goes, that guy over there is selling them for 75, and I know you're 80, so 65, I'm going to get them sold. I said, I went over to the other guy. I said, I understand you're at 75 now. He started laughing. He's like, I haven't sold one. He goes, that other guy sold them all. So he was selling them for 65, right? What would be the next step, right? What if I would have went to 60 and this guy went to 55? Would he have gone to 50? I mean, not worrying about losing money, right? Just wanting to get them sold. I mean, we see that on eBay all the time. We don't know, you don't know how people are into something, right? How well they got into it, if they've got a lot of percentage or a little percentage. But sometimes you shake your head when you see people just wanting to be below somebody else. That the stuff, and I'm talking about boxes now, but if you even go to cards, right? Like certain cards, you see somebody, and I'll give you for instance, the Caitlin Clark, WNBA draft night cards, the PSA 10s. Yes, the pop count is just over 2,000 on those cards. There were 40,000 of those cards made, right? And they were consistently selling at, 350, 330, 350. And then all of a sudden, a couple of people go up and sell theirs for 225, put it up there, 225, buy it now, or 250, buy it now. And then next thing you know, nobody wants to spend 350 because they did this at 250, and then the people at 350, they're like, oh, I'm going to be at 249.99, and I'm going to be at 247.50, right? Now all of a sudden in that 245 to 249, there's 50 of these cards all priced in that. And it all started because one person or two people went out and sold them at a buy it now at much cheaper. So it's just interesting how the market reacts, how people react to somebody selling something, a little bit less. Like, strong hands sometimes. Just be like, "Oh, that's okay. Like, that person wanted to sell it. I wish I could have bought it at that price, but I couldn't." But sometimes it's like, just relax, right? Just keep your price, and you never know, because we see the similar things happen at card shows, right? And I've talked about this on so many episodes, right? You get to a show, especially with ultra modern cards. You put these cards in your case, and there's probably 10 or 15 or 20, depending on the card. There could be more, it could be less, the identical cards, identical grade in this room, right? At this show, right? And it benefits the attendees of the show because they can just go from dealer to dealer and just find the lowest price, right? And we see it happen all the time. They'll be like, "Oh, what's the best you can do on that?" And you tell them, and then they go to the other guy. Well, this guy said, and even if I like say they got a $200 price on a card, and I said, "Oh, I could do 180 on it," right? This guy's going to the other guy that's got 200 and said, "Oh, this guy said he'd do 175. Can you beat it?" Right? I mean, that's exactly what happens. And now you put somebody in a position where they're like, do I want to just take the money because I want to make a sale, or do I want to stand firm and be like, no, I can't do that. I can't sell that at that. I guess it just becomes how motivated, how much people need to. Some people show up at a show and they need to sell their stuff, right? And other people, they're like, you know what? I need to sell my stuff, but the price has to be right. And, and I call them attendees, right? Because very few collectors show up at any show anymore. Very few collectors, because everyone's a dealer. Everyone's a dealer. Everyone's a flipper. Everyone's a reseller. Everyone is here to make money. Everyone is here to make money. And if you really think about it, everyone can't make money, especially when every card is being sold under comps. How can everybody make money? A buyer that's very familiar in this area that I know, right, for Connecticut, Boston, New Jersey. I'm not gonna I think throw his name out there, but he shows up at a lot of these local shows. He showed up at the show today, and I watched him go from table to table to table and buy cards from almost everybody, every table at that show, right? When he got to my table, he identified what cards that he wanted to buy. He immediately told me what the last sale was and immediately went to 80%. And there really wasn't a lot of negotiation. It was 80% or no on, and that's kind of where he's at. And I understand that. I I liked his negotiation style, as you probably could figure out listening to a couple other episodes that I have. Just these deals that take so long and they don't need it. I mean, we can cut it all out at the beginning, and I like the no bull crap, right? Just say, you know what, this is it. This is what I'm willing to pay. It's a yes or a no. You could respond to me. I could agree, or just, I could say, yes, I could do that, or no, we'll just put that one back. Right. Um, but he wanted to be at 80%. I sold him 4 cards. I sold him 1 card I made money on. 2 I broke even. They were like rentals, and 1 that I lost, right? Because the market really hasn't gone up. Now, if anything, the market has trended down now. And this were off 3 were football cards. 1 was a hockey card. I had to think about that for a minute. So the one that I made money on made up for the one that I lost money on, and the 2 middle ones were rentals, right? So I just finished saying we're all here to make money. I just made that deal. I didn't make any money on that deal, but I was happy to sell them those cards, right? Um, even though that it was really a break even for me, these are cards that have been sitting in my case since August. I'm happy to move them out. I'm happy to get rid of them. I'm happy to not have, and I say this all the time, I'm happy not to have cards in my case where people come up, show after show and be like, "Oh yeah, I know you. I saw these cards at the last show." He did inquire up to about 10 cards in my case. Gave me a price. I'm like, "No, I couldn't be there," and these are cards maybe I just recently acquired, maybe they're cards that I've graded, maybe they're cards that I think are I could do much better with. For whatever reason, the other cards, I was like, "No, but these ones, I'm okay to move." But I watched him go from table to table around the room, right? And I don't know where any other dealer is at with their cards. I don't. And I'm not even going to say I know or speculate or anything. But I can tell you the people that I knew that had sold him cards when I said, "Hey, how did you do today?" Like we all do at shows at the end of the show. I did awesome. Another dealer. It was a great day. I sold more today here than I did yesterday at the Hofstra show. Right? Another dealer said, when I see him walk in, I get super excited because I know he's going to clean me out. And I think to myself, wow, this person really must be able to acquire these cards at a very good price to be able to move them at 80% of the last sale and be super excited to see him come through the door. Right? I think when I'm doing those numbers in my head quickly, I think I must be doing this all wrong because those people need to be buying at 60 or 65% or acquiring anyway they're getting these cards have to be in the 60s, right? For that to make sense. Now I know on some cards we can get in, but on all those cards, um I saw other dealers that showed up to buy at this show. They show up with their case and they walk around, and I do the same thing. If I'm not set up and there's a show, I hit a show every weekend, right? Try to buy stuff to throw in my case somewhere else, try to get some good deals, try to get some steals, right? Coming around. And I know a lot of other people feel the same way I do when they see other dealers coming around. And I heard that, "Oh, this guy comes in offering me this. Like, why am I gonna sell it to him so I can see him at this show next week, selling my card for whatever," right? So immediately immediately we see another dealer come in and they're like, "No, I'm not selling him. I don't want to see my card in his case. I don't want him to make the money. I should make the money on it." Right? But when we see this other guy show up that we have no idea where the cards are going from, but we know he's 80% across the board. People are excited. "Oh, I'm so excited he's here. He's going to clean me out," right? So I don't know. It's just it's interesting. It's interesting to sit back and listen to what's being said and how people feel and what's happening at shows now. Um, I can only speak for myself and what I think, right? But I can't imagine the cards he bought up in that room today that there was a lot of profit being made on. And I'm sure a lot of people, a lot of those cards, people are happy to sell. And they could be in the same situation I was with the 4 that I sold. That one, one is up, one is down, a couple is just like, "Look, I bought this. Maybe it wasn't the best decision because nobody else seems as interested as I was in this card. So we'll move it on to somebody else," right? And I can tell you, I've turned down super lowball offers on the cards I broke even with. almost feeling like I may get stuck with these cards. These cards may be riding out the winter with me here in the office. Um, and I'll tell you, I heard a lot of that today too, because you walk around, especially the show today. There's no Brady, there's no Mahomes, there's no Burrow. You go to a card show, you see all these. You see a lot of these nice, rookie auto, PSA 10, all that. Haven't seen much of that at all lately. And a lot of people saying, I'm not even bringing them out because I'm just so tired of people telling me how, my expensive Burrow card is worth nothing, even though he's playing better than what people expected to do, him to. And Jalen Hurts, like I've got a nice rookie auto of Jalen Hurts in my case and all, people don't look at it. People are like out on him right now. Right. So a lot of these bigger cards that you usually see, and I'm sure those cards were out at Hofstra. I'm sure they're out at the bigger shows you're going to go to. But a lot of these local shows, people are like, you know what? I'm not even going to put them in my case. I'm not going to bring them out. They can just stay home for these shows. Nothing worse than having somebody come up to tell you everything that's wrong with your card, but then make an offer on it like they're doing you a favor. I just start laughing. Uh, a lot of people come up, and I say everybody's a dealer now, right? You see people come up and they'll really want a card, right? They'll make an offer on a card. They're starting at 80%. You're pushing them up to, slightly over 90, and then they're pushing back down to, and then it comes out and be like, yeah, I just won't be able to sell this card. There's just not enough room for me to make money on it. Uh, and I know, I mean, and it's not the first time we talked about this. It's not the first time I hear it at every single show, but it still makes me laugh, right? Uh, I'm not gonna watch dealers that I do know, I would say that to because they know what I'm doing with the card, but I'm not gonna go to a person I don't know, walk up to a dealer, go to a show to a dealer I don't know, and tell them that I have to buy that card for less because I need to make money on it. I almost find that to be disrespectful in a way. And I'm sure it doesn't help. I'm sure it doesn't help with the sale. I'm sure it doesn't help with the negotiation because I know when I hear it, I just start laughing. And I know that we're probably not going to get a deal done. I think most dealers too, getting back to the people who are buying in the rooms, um, I think most dealers are programmed today that when the repackers are showing up, maybe program is not the right word. I'm gonna take that programmed word back out because that's not the right word. I think people just lose sight of profit and loss and get excited to have not just some sales, but a bulk sale when a repacker shows up. And I know most people will argue with me, but the next time you're at a show and you see a repacker walking around, go walk up to a table and listen to the negotiation going on because this is what I do a lot. And I think to myself, if I walked up to the table and I offered them that price on that card, there is no way they're going to agree to that. And they're going to tell me all the reasons why they need to be higher. But there's something about somebody coming in, picking out a whole bunch of cards out of the case and wanting to make a big deal. And I think people are losing sight of the profit and loss. And the next time you see one at a show, ask them, how's the show going for you? Because I think at the end of the day, they're the ones making the money. They're the ones that are making the most amount of money. They're not buying a table. right? They're not coming in to set up. They're showing up with the suitcase or the backpack and a lot of cash and just going from table to table. And I think they're the ones, I know they're the ones that have the cards sold before they even buy them. They know where they're going, they know where they're sold. These are the guys that are the big fish in a little pond. Margins are so slim right now and have been for a while that dealers, the ones that are showing up and getting tables at shows, are putting a lot of work in for that 10 to 15%, right? And the repackers, these are the guys that are showing up making minimum 20%. But everybody in the room thinks they're a dealer. Doesn't matter what side of the table you're on. But if you start thinking about it and start observing what's happening at these shows, you're going to see who's really making the money. Who is getting the good percentages out of that. And I know I'm there. I'm right in the weeds there when they're coming up and saying, if I pull 6 or 7 of these cards out, can we make a deal? And a lot of times I give them my percentage right away. If you can be at this percentage, because that's the same percentage I would sell to anybody else walking up to this table. And that's the percentages that make the most sense to me, because it doesn't make sense for me to show up and lose money just to get a big deal going. Uh, and even on a deal like today, like to me, it's controlled, right? I'm saying, okay, I'm making money on this one. I'm losing money on that one. These two, if I could be where I got into them for, then I'm okay. I haven't lost anything. I haven't made anything, but I haven't lost anything either. I spent a lot of time last year talking about how important grading is. And that's where you can actually, make great percentages. I just feel now that the cards are just flooding into the market so fast. So fast. And if you're not grading these cards 20 days or less, by the time you're waiting for your PSA order to come back, and I get excited. Like sometimes I see my order coming back. I'm like, oh, this came out at 10. I'll look up. I'm like, all right, this is the price. And then, it takes 4 or 5 days to get the order back. And then I got maybe another week or, 5 days or so to my weekend show. And then the night before the show, I priced the card. I'm like, oh my God, that card's already down since last week. What's going on? That it just starts racing. It starts racing downward, that the markets gets flooded so fast there. Um, Prices are already declining. So what's the next option? Um, waiting for the declining prices of the cards, wait for the cards to go down and try to play that guy. I think that's a dangerous game to play. Waiting for the cards to start to decline, that you would find a good time to get in and I do the game over a 6 month, and this year I think it might be a little different, because I don't think that the market moved enough last year for me to put a big investment into cards to hold them for the length. I'll still do it, but I'm probably not going to invest as much as I've done the last 2 years, because I don't see the market moving as much. I think I see the market being very stingy on a lot of these quarterbacks now. What are you guys thinking? If everybody's here to make money, is there enough to go around? Can everybody make money if everybody's buying below comps? And who is selling above comps? Who's buying above comps? It's a declining market when everybody's a dealer. I know you're probably thinking what I did with those 5 Costco boxes, right? Those Don Ross Costco's. You guessed it. I came home and ripped them. Can't beat them, join them. Can't sell them, rip them, right? I had a great time doing it. I had some decent pulls, nothing great, but you know what? $60 boxes, very low risk. Right? Um, Speaking of boxes, I've been watching these select WNBA breaks, and as fast as these cards are being pulled, they're already on eBay selling for unbelievable amounts of money. I can't believe I'm shaking my head on that. And I know a lot of you guys out there, you knock my WNBA, right? Knock the WNBA stuff, you know, that it's such a small percentage, but backyard breaks, right? All weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, even today, ripping cases of this stuff, and they're selling out every break to their usual customers. Because I'm on there watching and I'm listening to the back and forth and the guys talking, and they know all these people. They know all the people that are buying into these breaks that are buying. So it's not, and maybe these are guys that'll just buy anything, but I was thinking, hey, maybe I can jump in on one of these. No. I mean, that stuff was just insanely priced. The select hobby boxes, the Panini, they started at $7.99 for a hobby box. They sold out in like 30 minutes. Anywhere else now, it's $1,000 for a hobby box. And most people I know who are in this lane, this WNBA lane, who have been here, even if they've just jumped on in the last year or they've been here for a few years, they've been priced right out, including myself. Because I understand more than most people. If you don't hit a Caitlin Clark auto in these boxes, you're sunk. And I know it's a lottery ticket, but you're still sunk. And there's very few cards that you can pull out of these boxes that would come close to getting your money back on $1,000 box. I had 5 pickups from the show today. I was pleasantly surprised, speaking of WNBA, because I've been to a lot of shows and I hardly see any WNBA cards, to find 5 Juju Watkins cards. 5 Juju Watkins cards. Super excited. All Bowman University. Actually, you know what? Before I bore people with those, I'll jump in my 2000 Bowman Brady that I talked about doing the deal on Veriswap. I'll hold that up. The BGS 8.5. If you're on YouTube, you can see it. If not, I'm holding it up. And then the 5 Juju Watkins PSA 10 refractor, Bowman University. And I know they all look like the same card. This is the base PSA 10, Bowman U. The pink refractor, PSA 9. And 2 bases, also PSA 9s. So yeah, I'm happy to put those away, and we'll be breaking those out in 2025 when we get closer to March Madness and see what's happening in the NCAA women's basketball world, who is playing well come the getting ready for the March Madness NCAA tournament. I'll be back Wednesday with a brand new episode, and I've got something a little different planned. So stay tuned. I think you guys are going to like it. But for now, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And if you like what you hear, please definitely subscribe. And most importantly, tell a friend and spread the word. Until next time, take care of yourselves and everyone around you.